Hey, boy, just give me one hot second. Yeah,
Okay, okay.
okay. Josh, did you get the link? Yes. Okay, let me do that and it'll be to Josh Detroit. Okay. Okay, well, let me just send it to Josh Detroit because actually I'm on now. Okay, I'll send it right now. Okay, bye bye. Okay. And actually, we're up, everybody, but clearly I am going to do this. And let me do this real quick. Okay. Okay, y'all. Yeah. And now I am done, and I'm going to get to you. And okay, now we're just going to go on and get started. At 5, 4, just hold on. We just get to this to 1:30. That's when I can start. Hey, everybody, it's taking me a minute. Welcome to the Santita Jackson Show, the Santita Jackson Show on AM 950 Radio, the voice of progressive Minnesota. It's a joy to be with you this evening. I know we keep moving the times around, but I want to thank you for being so patient as we are working a lot of things out, and really growing the show. So thank you for your patience. And continue to let me know whether you prefer early mornings or afternoons. This is extraordinarily late because I was on a Get Out the Vote tour with Reverend Jackson and State Representative Lakeisha Myers in Wisconsin, just really trying to get out the vote, talking to young people. And we're going to be doing a lot of other things, really moving up to November 5th. Nothing's going to stop Reverend. A little thing like Parkinson's, please. Please go to the Santita Jackson and Friends Facebook page. That is where I can accept friendships. Please do that. Well, Yvonne's already there, and so is Robert and Laura and Bernadette, sending you all so much love. Hey, hey, hey. But everybody else, please get over to the Santita Jackson and Friends Facebook page and at Santita J on X and the Santita Jackson Show. That's right. Meet Laura and Bernadette and Robert and everybody over there. Please go to the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. I've got my brother from Detroit, my brother from another mother, Josh. But
Mhm.
we are going to pivot to you. We're going to be talking about the Teamsters in the next hour. What about them? Do these union endorsements still matter? Something highly unusual happened. The presidential race is something they said we're not going to touch. They met with Vice President Harris. They met with former President Trump, and they said, you know what? We're not going to endorse anyone. We're going to talk with Mel Buer from the Real News Network about that and what that means. And of course, we're going to continue this conversation because really, over the next couple of weeks, I want to do something and I want you all to help me. As we've been talking to Greg Palast, and we're going to be doing his movie. I'm going to let you know we're going to show it in Chicago, and maybe you might come down, Josh, from Detroit, and bring some people with you because we want to have a discussion after on a Saturday, after the Saturday morning forum. Have some food, break some bread, have some fun, play some music, but really talk about the purges. There has been a plan in place to purge 2 million voters. There are more than 851,000 persons in. The unsettling part is that most of us do not know that we've been purged from the rolls. We keep telling you every day, please go to vote.org and check and see if you have been purged from the rolls. The fact is, it's something you need to do every day because people are getting pushed out every day. And this is the thing: if you do not get registered to vote by October 7th, a month before the election, you will not be able to vote in this cycle. So I pulled Josh Feinstein, Jews and Allies, and that is what I am. I am his sister here, and I'm from Michigan. But I wanted, Josh, because we pulled Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds, and he's head of the Black Caucus there in the legislature, pulled him out of this Democratic meeting because he wanted to take the opportunity to really deal with this. I spoke with Mayor Chokwe Lumumba from Jackson, Mississippi. He's going to be on in the next few days to talk about this because really, Texas, which has the greatest concentration of Black people in the United States, Mississippi, Georgia, Florida, they do not have same day on site registration. Why is that a problem as we're watching these voter purges, Representative Reynolds?
Well, Santita, it's great to be on with you, and I will step out of any meeting with you to discuss this important topic anytime because our people need to be informed, empowered, and enlightened so they can take charge and not be a victim of voter suppression and these voter purges. The reason why it's so important, especially in those states that you named, because they don't have same day registration. And because Texas has purged 1 million voters from the voter poll rolls from the instruction of Governor Abbott to the Secretary of State, if people are like Bishop T.D. Jakes, let's just use him as an example.
A real life example,
A
by the way.
real life example. Like this is not fictitious. This is not made up. This is not hyperbole. You can go to Bishop T.D. Jakes. You can Google it, and you will see for your very self that this actually happened. So this is not a scam or some fear tactic. This happened to Bishop T.D. Jakes when there was an exercise they were doing to check to see about this very issue. Well, he did that, and he determined that he had been purged himself. Bishop T.D. Jakes, a Texas registered voter who was alive, who had voted recently, he was purged. And so it is so important that you go to vote.org to make sure that you are currently registered to vote. And if you don't do so, by October 7th and you do it, let's say you wake up on October 8th and you say, I'm going to go to vote.org. I heard them talking about it. And you discovered that you are no longer registered. Guess what? Because there's no same day registration, you cannot vote in the upcoming November 5th general election
At all.
at all, period. You will not, you can vote if there is any runoffs, but you won't be able to vote in the general election. So, and the only reason why I say a runoff because if there was a vote after November, maybe it was in December, then you may be eligible to vote then, but you would not be eligible to vote in November general election. That means that if these close elections that are decided by 1 and 2 and 3 votes, yes, there have been elections in communities that have been decided by 1 and 2 and 3 votes, you could be the deciding vote and your vote didn't get registered because you were not eligible because you were purged and you did not take the time, the couple minutes it takes to go on vote.org. And so, what this is a call to action to anyone who is listening. If you're in these states that don't have same day or voter registration where you can register the same day at the polls anywhere. Some states have that, but for Texas and other states that don't, now is the time. And not only that, but Santita, it's important that we're our brothers and sisters keeper. And what does that mean? Even though you check your status, encourage others. Put this on your social media platform, send out call you talk to your homeboy just like you say, hey, you know that good movie, you need to go see that good movie at that restaurant that you love to go to. This is a conversation that should be a part of your dialogue, where you're talking about vote.org, because we don't want anyone to be disenfranchised, and we don't want anyone, we haven't had this problem in the past, Antita, so no one has had to go to vote.org really in the past. But now I'm just going to be very transparent. There are some very much some MAGA folks out there, and I'm only going to talk about Texas because I'm not going to speak for anyone else's state. But in Texas, we have some MAGA folks that want to disenfranchise people. We saw it through voter suppression efforts in Senate Bill 2. That's why we fled to D.C. to try to get federal protection. They passed some laws to make it more difficult to vote. These voter purges are part and parcel to a voter suppression efforts. When they can't beat you at the polls because of, there are too many African Americans in Texas and Hispanics and Asians and this growing demographics and diversity that are trending Democrat. Well, they will pencil whip you with voter purges and new forms of voter suppression. That is why, Santita, it's important that we take action and that we go and check our voter status. And then that's step one. Step two is to then vote. And then step three is to hold their elected officials accountable to pass good policies that repeal these voter suppression laws, stop these voter purges, stop these voter suppression laws, pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act, pass
Mhm.
the Freedom to Vote Act at the federal level so that we can get protection in all 50 states across the country that's uniform. Strengthen the Voting Rights Act of 1965, put those protections that were repealed by the Shelby case by the U.S. Supreme Court, bring those federal protections back in so that everyone can have the freedom to vote in a free and fair election and not have these southern states that have recalcitrant governors like my governor in Texas, taking away people's right to vote. So thank you so much for allowing us this platform to have this important discussion so that people can get the word out and understand this is a sense of urgency because it's real. Just like Bishop T.D. Jakes, I check my status. Fortunately, I wasn't purged, but guess what, Santita?
Could have been.
I had some constituents that were purged that
Mm.
just voted in the last election cycle. They were outraged. But yes, take that pain and turn it into purpose. Get registered and then go vote and vote them out of office.
You know what? Because I'm going to tell you, I don't. I think after we did Keep Hope Alive yesterday, I got a sense of urgency. I said, wait a minute. A lot of us, as we talked to Greg Palast, a lot of us don't know Josh Feinstein. And we've got Reverend Dr. Jeanette Wilson with us. And I know you're going to have to go, State Representative Reynolds. But a lot of us do not know that October 7th is really our target date.
That's the target date. That's the date right there. And not a day later, you will be purged. You even though you can re-register at any time, you will not be eligible to vote in the November general election. And that means that you can't cast a vote for president
Oh,
or for anything. Nothing. Nada.
until maybe, well,
until
until the next election.
until the next election.
That is
So
unbelievable. I
and
mean,
this
and that's Texas, that's Miss, because I can say this: it's Texas, it's Mississippi, it's Georgia, it's Florida. I mean, this is where Black people are doing a reverse migration, Josh, because we were chased out of the South. I mean, culturally, Black people stay Southern wherever we go, because I mean, geographically, we might be in Boston, but socially, Black people and culturally, we're Southern people, and we were run out the South. We were bombed out of Tulsa. A lot of the I didn't realize how many Tulsans I was raised with them. When we went down to the anniversary, I looked up and I was like, wait a minute, I was in kindergarten with you. I didn't know that your grandfather, they tried to accuse him. He was a very wealthy businessman. In fact, it was a Black hotel that John Rogers' family owned that became the model for the whole Hilton chain.
Wow.
The hotel was that fine. Coming out of slavery, we were the preferred labor force, not the Germans. In fact, they were at the end of the line. Black people had become so skilled that everyone wanted to hire us. We built the White House, we built the Capitol, we built everything here. And we knew service, we understood that. So they came out of that and built one of the finest hotels in America. These people dropped a bomb on that. So it's no accident that you can't have same day on site registration in Texas, which has the greatest concentration of Black people of any state in the nation.
That's right.
Mississippi, Georgia, Florida. That's where we're moving back home. My mother's from Florida. My father's from South Carolina. When I go to South Carolina, North Carolina, I feel very at home because that's where we're from.
Wow. Wow.
So you're going to hear us over the next couple of weeks continue to beat this drum because I want you to know that Reverend Wilson, as we just left Milwaukee, as we talked to people, and thank you for connecting me to Mayor Lumumba of Jackson, Mississippi. He was trying to get on today, and I'm going to get him on in the next few days. But I said, please, wherever you go, um, there's barter time on your television and radio stations in Jackson. Get on there and tell people right now, every day, they need to check their registration every single day. Go to vote.org, and you need to make sure you have to check it every day because they will purge us on the 6th. You've got to get registered. You will have to re-register. Otherwise, you will not be able to vote in this historic election. Now, I'm just keeping it right here. And we're going to continue to talk about this. Is there anything you'd like to say, Texas State Representative Ron Reynolds?
Yeah, Santita, you just laid it out. That's what they're counting on. They're counting on people being uninformed, asleep at the wheel, showing up on election day or the early vote, and they're purged. And now it's too late. And you can complain about it. You can be mad about it, but by law, you won't be able to vote. So they're counting on these low information voters that aren't aware that there is a purge, right? They're like they're minding their business, they're working, they're going to school, they're whatever. They don't know about a purge. So they're counting on that. So yes, this is a part of the plan. It is all by design. And therefore you can't cast your vote for whoever you want to vote for. And they think that they know the people that they're purging disproportionately are Black and brown. That is I believe that's what the statistics would show that. So the point is, Santita, we have to sound the alarm bell. We have to be the ambassadors of goodwill to let people know what is at stake and what they're doing. And this is not a accident. This is not, oh, you were accidentally purged. No, no, sir, no, ma'am. This what did Maya Angelou said? When people show you who they are,
Oh boy,
believe them. It's time to start believing these folks that really believe that there's a voter fraud, that they're trying to do everything they can to put their foot on the scale to rig the system so that there is a disadvantage for communities of color. And we can't stand back and let that happen on our watch. We have to be our brothers and sisters keeper. In the words of former Congressman John Lewis, make some good trouble, stir it up. Let's make some good trouble, y'all. So thank you, Santita. I'll be happy to come on anytime to talk about this because we know there's a short window. It's about 2 weeks. And after that, they will be forever unable to vote in this critical election of our lifetime.
Before you go, say hey to your homegirl, Candace Matthews, Dr. Matthews. Now, Candace, with you and your cowboy hat, I want you on tomorrow.
Hey, Candace. Hey, Dr. Matthews. You got to come
Matthews.
on. Yeah, chairwoman of the Coalition of Black Democrats.
And we love her. We love her. I mean, and she is a freedom fighter.
Yes.
But thank you. Get back to your Democratic Party meeting.
All right. Thank
you so much love.
Good to see you, Ron. It's good to see you.
Y'all.
Take care, Ron.
Well, Reverend Wilson, what say you?
Well, I think we have our work cut out for us, and I'm going to make sure that we contact, and I'm going to see if I can get him on your program, the National Council.
Okay, I need you to come back this way. There you go. Stop. There you go.
National Council of Black Mayors, because he's in Alabama, the president, and it's Alabama, like you say, Mississippi, and we're going to have to make sure we push on all of the radio stations, all over social media. Check your voter status, and where
Reverend, every day.
Yeah,
every day. I mean, Josh, it takes that kind of vigilance because these people, they have a goal of purging 2 million voters.
Yep.
There are 851,000 voters in.
Right.
That's like information from like a couple of weeks ago.
Wow.
Reverend Wilson.
Yeah, and so I think all of our pastors, I'm gonna try to set up a national call with clergy, because they can be pushing it out from their pulpits and using the social media that each church has. We have to make this a campaign because people just don't know. You wouldn't think once I register, I got to re-register because they purged me from the polls. And we're just not familiar with this. We've not had this kind of aggressive voter suppression in years. When I went with Reverend to Mississippi, that was the first time I experienced voter suppression in real time in 1983. They made you register in the county and the city where you lived. So you registered twice.
Twice for Josh. But but wait a minute. Let's say this. And it really wasn't that long ago, everybody. That Southern Crusade that Reverend Jackson, where he started registering 2.5 million voters, and Reverend had been he's registered tens of millions of voters throughout his lifetime. We saw things, Josh. You think the Dukes of Hazzard is just a TV show?
It's not.
We were living like that. Black people were afraid to come into the town square. They had heard Jesse Jackson was there, but you had the sheriff standing in the town square patting their rifles.
Wow.
This is real stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, we were like,
I saw it. We had trouble with the U.S. Attorney General, William Bradford Reynolds. It was so dangerous.
Well, and remember also the Black the State Bureau of Investigation. You've got the FBI, and then you got the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, New York, Illinois, blah, blah, blah. The Black agents took their vacation time
to protect Reverend,
to stay with us through the Southern. And then when they couldn't come, they'd have Noble, the Black the Black police. Then we had some white sympathizers too. Some of these people, and remember they put on they covered their faces. And I will say this, Reverend Falwell asked Reverend Pastor E.V. Hill, who's one of the top evangelists of the last half century. He said, I want to meet with Jesse, because they're all preachers. And even if they have political differences, they do agree on their brothers in Christ, or their brothers in the cloth, whatever your faith. He said, you know what? I've heard a lot of things. You're about to do something really dangerous. And I know, just to compress it, we don't see eye to eye politically, but you're my brother in Christ and I love you. I want you to know that if I hear of he said, I'm praying for you. And if I hear of anything that could be harmful to you, I will call you immediately. And I will never say anything from my pulpit that will harm you. I'll always be grateful to them for that. Because there's a lot that Jerry Falwell, as big as he was at the time, Reverend Wilson, that he could have done. And those times were that incendiary, because for Reverend to step out here and run, it was the game changer that we're seeing now. But Reverend Wilson, have you ever seen? They are pursuing this so aggressively, Reverend Wilson. They set a target, 2 million people we're going to get off the road. And they are absolutely, they're on track. Have you ever seen anything like this before?
This is something that we used to read about, that happened back in the day, so to speak. But this level of voter intimidation hasn't happened in at least 40 years. It was happening when Reverend first ran for president. And it is now happening on steroids, because they have the capacity using social media to communicate faster and more effectively than they had before. And people are emboldened. This is a very dangerous time for us. And we have to all be clear that you can't take anything for granted. You can't take your voter registration for granted. You can't even trust the systems that are supposedly designed to protect you and your vote. And so I'm concerned about college students as we look around the country. They're unaware. I'm trying to get them to, on your campus, find out if you can vote on your campus. And we have a list of colleges that allow students to register and vote in the city where they are attending school, especially those schools in the South. We like for them to vote in those states. They can make the difference in state elections as well as the federal election. So, but we want to make sure parents, if your child is away in college, get an absentee ballot for them. Have them fill it out now, not wait till they feel like doing it. Make it as important as FAFSA has been. And we have to really be very intentional about all that we can do to make sure that everybody is registered, ready, and voting as early as possible, so they don't get confused about the weather. It's going to be storms in the South. It's going to be snow in the north and the east. So we've got to just make sure, if we're all focused on getting the vote out, protecting the vote, making sure people are ready and registered, then it'll be fine.
Well, would an executive order on voting rights, would that have helped in this season?
I think it would have helped somewhat, but I'm not so sure that an executive order would not have been voted down by state legislative bodies. That's the problem. Biden passed an executive order around student loan debt, and Congress both moved against him. And then, when it was appealed to the Supreme Court, the court ruled in favor ruled against Biden.
But you know what, Reverend Wilson, I wish he had done it, if only to have highlighted the issue, right? Because because I'm also concerned. We've been looking at the Latino community, we've been looking at the Black community, because they've been going after Black sounding names, Josh. They've been going after Spanish surnames. But I'm wondering if they would also do that with the Arab community, Arab American community, because they now have an X.
Mm-hmm.
And so please talk to our Arab American brothers and sisters. Everybody ought to be checking.
Every person of color must check. Every person. I don't want to skip Asian Americans. You're not exempt, because
they've gone after them.
Asian Americans, Arab Americans, anyone that is of color, and certain Native Americans already know they're under attack.
Well, and I wouldn't be surprised if they go after Jewish people who are progressive, because they know where you live. I mean, this is a really, and that's why I said, we all need to be vigilant, Josh, because this is 2 million people. That's the election.
Yeah.
And targeted. I mean, those, because you don't run for the popular vote, you run for the electoral college.
It's interesting because you say that's the election. Comes back to our conversation a couple of weeks ago. You've given some really good guidance. When I called you up, I said, what's the strategy? You said, the key is keep getting people to register. Keep getting people to register. Now you're adding just an element. Once you're registered, confirm that you're still registered. Confirm you're registered. However, the thing is, at this point, Santita, it's important that people are registered. It's important that they vote. But we're at a point where, respectfully, it doesn't matter who they vote for. And I'm not saying from apathy. I'm saying at this point, whether you vote for party A, B, or in my case, I'm going to vote for party C. I'm going to go green. I'm less interested, especially at the top of the ticket, where people are voting, just making sure that they are registered and they do vote. And that's based off of, again, the advice and guidance you'd given me a couple of weeks ago.
Because to me, this is, just if I can just say this, for me,
yes.
I am a registered Democrat, but there's an old saying that we have in the Black church, right? But I'm an independent Democrat. I'm a Baptist, but I'm glad God is not. This, to me, this is not a partisan issue, y'all. This is an American issue. Because eventually this kind of mission creep takes everybody out eventually.
So I want to throw a curveball here because
Oh
I'm coming
no.
to you tonight with a heavy heart. No, it's just
Oh, what
we haven't seen each other in a while, and coming to you with a heavy heart because we're talking about in terms of quote democracy in air quotes. You know, going sideways today, the Israeli military murdered 270 civilians in Beirut.
Now I've
20,
been traveling today. I missed that.
21 children were murdered, 40 women. And they always talk about we did a targeted strike. Well, the targeted strike was targeted towards ambulances, women, children, and civilians. Now, when I look at it, I'm not going to get into people's motivations and what drives them. I'm going to get into facts. The fact is that being a Democrat, we have a Democrat in office who has the ability to stop this. And we know that in this day and age, it's not a Ronald Reagan phone call. You actually can press a button and take weapons offline now. The fact that this is happening under Democratic watch, I would say that, again, register to vote, make sure you're registered to vote, but respectfully, at least from my point of view, vote for Joe Stein or don't vote at the top of the ticket and vote the rest of the ticket. But at this point, as a Democrat, I cannot in good conscience say that a vote for a Democrat at the top of the ticket is a vote for humanity. It is supporting war crimes.
Well, let me
I apologize for. Go ahead. I'm just
no,
kind of emotional.
no, because this leads me to uncommitted.
Yes.
More and more uncommitted groups, Reverend Wilson, and I would like you to speak to this, Josh.
Yes.
More and more uncommitted groups, women, uncommitted voters, are pulling away from Kamala Harris, and we do not need that right now because I do support her. That having because I as my mother said, my mother and father have been married 63 years. Oh, she said I would never marry anyone I could not fight.
So,
well, she's a little. No, you know what? And I get that. She said, no. She said, you marry an equal, and an equal you can take on, and that. But me, I'm totally because I'm reaching out to Jill Stein to get her on, like I'm going to have Cornel West on again because I want everyone to be heard here, y'all, because that's just where I am on all of this. That having been said, do you think that you can have a talk with Kamala Harris? Do you think that she can be negotiated with, Josh?
So well, you can negotiate, but the fact of the matter is what is transpiring right now is unacceptable. So you can have dialogue, you can talk, but again, that's sort of like saying, while the Nazis were murdering the Jews, did they have negotiations in the meantime? It really is the same thing. Or did we have negotiations with third parties? So I respect that you support Kamala. And when it comes to uncommitted, there are those in the uncommitted leadership who are still locked into Kamala because they are Democrats. And their rationale is, and I think similar to yours, that if we leave the party, if we abandon the Democratic Party and go on our own way, then we've left a vacuum for those that support the genocidal policies to step in and really take control. And my response to that is, so if that happens, would there be a genocide in Gaza? Already happening. If that happens, are they going to be killing innocent civilians in Beirut? Already happening. I think at this point, like that old joke about the guy who was in show business, remember, they don't pay me. They have to clean up the elephant dung. And, it's just this horrible job. I work 8 days a week, 35 hours a week. It's just horrible. I'm like, why don't you quit? And he says, and leave showbiz? I mean,
but I have to be honest with you. I don't feel that way about the party at all. Okay. For me, because people at various points, some of Reverend's hardcore supporters, and I am one of them, have wanted him to leave the party. I've been frustrated with him for a long time.
Yes.
So this is not even. I don't make my choices on party. I really do not. I'm from Chicago. Reverend Wilson and I are from Chicago. And when you grew up with the Democratic Party machine and you jump in here, Reverend Wilson, you don't have this. We did not have this love affair with the Democratic Party. We had to work with the Republican governors and the Republican senators who helped us, genuinely helped us. It was the Democrats who had they didn't have their foot on our necks. They had their hand. They were choking us to death. We had to
Yes.
run against them always.
Yes.
So I mean, so I'm not objecting to anything that you're doing because I don't mistrust your motives. And so I'm saying I respect that. That's why you're here. And
And likewise, I know
I
you've been
am.
there. It's interesting when I tell you this. It's funny. I'm telling someone who actually went through, like you said, you've been there,
Yeah.
where you've been spat on by the Democratic Party, but hung in there. I'm
No, you know what?
Go ahead.
I hung in the process
Okay.
because the different position for what Reverend was doing. Reverend was not running to bolster the Democratic Party. He was running to bolster the democracy and to enhance the republic. People forget how popular Reagan was in his day. When Reagan won, he became an icon in real time. People were afraid to touch him.
Yes.
Reverend was the only figure who was, dare I say, man enough to take him on.
Yes.
And Marion Barry and Richard Hatcher, the people who were behind him and who were very politically active, they said we got to take him on, and we have to take on the Democrats who came in and spat in our eye when we were trying to elect a black mayor. And we asked Ted Kennedy not to come here. We asked Mondale, who's a presumptive nominee, not to come here, and they said, "Forget you. We're going to come in anyway because you're not going to have a choice but to support us." And we said, "Wait, hold on." Because we knew all of the events that led up to us getting this black mayor. Some black mothers had been dragged out of a meeting trying to clean up the projects in Chicago, and they'd been insulted in the most horrible way. They'd been dragged out of the meetings. Their clothes had been pulled up above. We saw their under things.
Undergarments.
So
Reverend Wilson.
Here's the thing. I think that we're not voting party ballots anymore. We haven't done that in years. We're voting down ballot for individuals that we feel agree with what we want to see happen.
Here.
And we try to encourage people not to just, it's no more party levers that you're pulling. You punch the person that you believe is the best for that particular job. Mm-hmm. And that's what we've been pushing for decades. What Reverend said is we have to vote, and you don't throw votes away. You vote all the way down ballot, and we try to expose people with information about the different candidates.
Yes.
So they know they can make a choice. We want you to make an informed choice.
Yes.
Not to be bullied by the party giving me some chickens today, so I'm going to vote Democratic. People not really in the Chicago and Illinois and some of our Midwestern states, people are a little bit more sophisticated. When you move to the 11 Southern states, there's a different culture in the South.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And people are still almost sharecropping in terms of how they work and how they earn a living.
J.D. Vance has an investment company.
Yeah.
That supports sharecropping. That's what they do.
I'm telling you. And so you barely making enough money to make ends meet in the first place. And so now you have your person that you work for telling you better vote like this. Otherwise, you get no more business. You don't have a job. I saw that in Mississippi, and it's still happening in certain areas in this country. That's what we must fight against. These corporations that are penalizing people and controlling votes. If you look at the way elections are run now, the amount of money you have to spend to get a city council office is ridiculous. You make $120,000 to be an alderman, and they're spending millions to get that seat.
Wow.
It's insane. And, so we took the money out of politics. You have a different kind of democracy.
True.
People are more in control. And that's what I want to fight for. It's not about a party. It's about who's controlling the dollars that go into these elections. And Santita knows that she's been talking about it for a long time. We've got to take the money out of politics. Right now, we have a school board election, and they're raising money to run for a school board.
I mean, if you don't have lots and lots of money,
you're not gonna get it.
But let me tell you, I appreciate and respect Jill Stein and Cornel West for the contributions that they're making to the conversation,
Yes.
because we need her to help move this needle, because what's happening to the Palestinians is not new. This has been going on. They've had a Nakba that has been going on for 8 decades.
Yep.
And it's not right.
75 years, that's eight decades. That's almost 100 years. So it's like at some point, my goodness, and you know what? People treat each other inhumanely. Let me just
Period.
state that, period. I know Whoopi Goldberg took a hit for that. Stop it, y'all. We see genocides everywhere all the time, and it's just got to stop. And you know what? I am tired of my tax dollars being put in that. And I don't want to see anybody's money, any place in the world, going to killing anybody.
Yeah.
And so I want you to stand 10 toes down on this, Josh, and continue to push.
I will.
Because what's happening in the Middle East has got to stop. What's happening in Venezuela has got to stop. What's happening in Haiti has got to stop. That is not our oil up underneath the feet of the people of Venezuela. Those are not our resources in North Korea. We're still at war with them. You people keep going on about Kim Jong-un. We are technically at war. We have an armistice agreement. That is not a peace treaty. We've killed a third of their population. What are we doing? So you stand as you stand and know that you have a home here.
Thank you, Santita.
And we're going to continue to do that. And thank you for letting me know, because I was up in Milwaukee with Reverend Jackson today, and Reverend Dr. Wilson, Esquire, who's up there with Reverend yesterday. No, seriously, you've done a lot of things. And you were up there yesterday because Reverend is trying to get out the vote. So I literally got here about 30 minutes before we came up here today.
Wow.
Well, I mean, because I knew I had to get up, because October 7th is something I'm thinking about. Now, tomorrow, I'm going to reach back out to you, because we're going to talk about what happened in Lebanon, because they're expanding this to a wider war. And you know what? These people have told us, you're going to feel this in the United States.
We are.
And you know what? It's not going to be boots on the ground. You're going to have, the grid's going to go down.
Yeah, the cyber
attacks. Oh my gosh.
The other thing we should remember, tomorrow a man will be executed in Missouri. Death row. We have to push for the elimination of the death penalty in all states.
Pardon my ignorance. Isn't Kamala Harris very much in support of codifying the death penalty? And again, it might be my ignorance, but
not to my knowledge.
Well, and shooting someone when they come in her home. Ha 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 ha.
Well,
I didn't like that.
I didn't either.
And let me, it's not funny. And let me tell you, I've supported people with whom I've had some profound disagreements, and I've had some profound disagreements with her. But my politics at this point are like, you know what? Let me try and work with her. But I absolutely, when they have called Jill Stein a spoiler, I'm like, that is not true. Ralph Nader was not a spoiler.
Yeah, it's very disingenuous.
Binary, because they're not even binary choices. It's a uniparty.
Yes.
Because with the Democrats and Republicans, nothing ever changes.
Yes.
Nothing.
You're absolutely
Now,
right.
at some point, people are getting more sophisticated, and they are not having it anymore. I mean, because look, we have poverty in America that's increasing, Josh. I'm looking at the Middle East. My goodness, I need that $20 billion that was given to Israel. I need it. I needed it. They don't have good drinking water in Flint and in Jackson, Michigan, and in Jackson, Mississippi.
Being here in Michigan, you're preaching to the converted and the faithful. But this is why, and we'll continue.
And in Chicago either, by the way.
Where are you in Michigan? Where are you in Michigan, Josh?
Southeast Michigan. Franklin is now home. I'm originally a New Yorker, but lived in downtown Detroit from 2011 to 2016. But my wife, actually, she was actually living next door to me in Detroit. You know what? This is probably an offline conversation. I'll grab you after. I like skiing. I don't know.
Well, give me a call because we're coming to Michigan with our GOTV, so I want to talk to
No,
you.
no,
Yes,
we need
yes,
we need to
definitely.
work. We need to work with Josh
Definitely.
and our allies because we have a nice family up there. Do we not, Josh?
Yes, yes, you do. You have a home
And
here too. Yes.
and so what we need to do, and with Linda, and we got some people in Michigan who we need to work with, and we need to break bread with, and figure this out. And for us, the voting, this is nonpartisan. So and you know what? I cannot tell someone who has family in the West Bank and in Gaza
And in Beirut.
that they are wrong, and in Beirut and in Syria and
Mhm.
everywhere. I can't tell you that you should not be feeling some kind of way about this and that you should not vote this way. I respect that. I affirm your right to make a choice. And I'm going to do everything I can, as Alan Minsky said from the Progressive Democrats of America. He said, "I support her." He said, "Because that's Bernie Sanders who comes. We come out of the same place." He said, "But after she's elected, we are going to take to the streets and protest."
Interesting.
Because that's what I was telling you. That's what you do. That's what you
I
do.
again,
We have.
with everything you just mentioned. I'm sorry, Reverend. Go ahead. My
I was
apologies.
just going to say, it's one thing to vote and get people elected. We fail on holding them accountable to our agenda. We have to be as vigilant
Mm-hmm.
after they get it as we were to help them get it. And that's where I am. We can't keep just electing people and then they go away to Washington or to the state house and we never see them until it's election time. That's our fault.
Mm-hmm.
They will respond when we demand them to. And that's what I believe with Kamala Harris. I think that there's possibility because she is rational. And I think she cares basically. But even with that, you have to push people to do, because she's going to be pushed by multinational corporations and multiple layers of people.
Mm-hmm.
And so we gotta text, tweet, write, and march. This is no time to just say, well, she's in and I'm done. Because we didn't do it when President Obama was there. We didn't push. We didn't push the Congress. We didn't push him. We were just so glad he's there. Well, I'm not that glad.
And we told everybody, and they told everybody to tell everybody to shut up and to stand.
To stand down. We're not standing down.
And that was the hugest mistake. That was a huge mistake. And I told people I knew in the administration, I said, you let him know that I said he will be out of office longer than he's in it.
That's right.
And so what he's doing for history is not going to help him.
Mm-mm.
So, I just want you to know it's all good.
So,
let me see. Jeanette says, if you revisit this voting topic, how does requesting a provisional ballot help if you are turned away on election day? Not listed. I'm glad I checked for my name on vote.org. Jeanette, but what we're saying is that you have to check on vote.org every day, and maybe you need to vote early. Is that it, Reverend Wilson?
Yes, vote early. You got early voting in most states. Vote early so you don't have to worry about it. Check your status and then go vote if your state allows it.
And because let me tell you, Josh, a lot of people have a lot of questions. When I was taking my Uber to just outside of Milwaukee today, because I had to do some work, so I had to stay behind. The Uber driver heard me speaking on the phone because I was trying to organize. We were talking about getting out the vote, et cetera, et cetera. It was shocking what he did not know.
Mm-hmm.
He did not know the whole he didn't know about early voting.
Wow.
He didn't know how to get an absentee ballot.
Wow.
They don't know.
I mean, people don't know. And so I think for the next few weeks, we're going to have to engage in that. And we need to engage with people from Uncommitted. So please help me to bring them on.
We'll do.
Because we need them to vote down ballot also.
Young people in my office, interns,
Mm-hmm.
and I have them doing research. I had one guy do research on every Midwest state. when you can vote, whether you can early vote, how do you register, when do you register, what do you have to have? They don't know that. And these are intelligent young people. I sent one on the Get Out the Vote tour. I said, you must go so you can understand and tell your generation, because they don't think anything of this situation.
Well, now, Jeanette, if you get a provisional ballot, I don't like provisional ballots. You explain that, Reverend Wilson.
Well, what happens is they will say, well, we don't see your name on here. We'll give you a provisional ballot. I don't know when they count them, how they count them. I don't know who monitors that. You know, we have the Board of Elections here in Chicago and Cook County, where we'll go down there and make sure that all provisional ballots are reviewed and counted. That's the problem. You get a provisional ballot when you go to the polling place and they say, well, it does not appear that you're on the voting rolls. You don't want to do that. You want to get that information well before you vote, well before October 5th. That way you don't need a provisional ballot. You will already be registered.
Well, you know what? I've only got a couple of minutes here, everybody. In the next hour, we're going to be talking about the Teamsters, but we're also going to continue this conversation. We have attorney Janice Mathis, General Counsel for the National Council of Negro Women, talking about this as well. And I'm just glad that I was able to pull you, Reverend Wilson, because I know she's got a million and one things to do, but I call her at the last minute always and say, I need you on. And Josh, same thing. I was like, did you get your link?
No.
But I had no look, everybody. I had no Wi-Fi on the train. So I could not send anything. I was like, I pulled out my iPad. I was like, are you for real? So this is what happened. So, but thank you. And we're going to continue to do this, but I want you to find some people from Uncommitted. And Reverend Wilson, let's revisit this tomorrow, in addition to talking about what's happening in Lebanon, because what is unsettling and painful about this is that they are becoming so aggressive about a broader war.
Yep.
And Israel's not listening to us. Netanyahu's not listening to us.
He wants the war. He's crazy.
So that's why I want to float an idea before we end the show for today is,
okay, I got a minute.
Reverend, you talked about holding people accountable. And my thought is everyone should register to vote. At this point, we need to double and triple check that we have not been purged from the rolls. But when one goes to vote, if we're going to hold the people accountable, now is the time. At the top of the ticket, I profess to you, and I respect very much you, I very respect you, Santita, but I declare that Kamala Harris has not earned the vote. And therefore, if you want to hold our politicians accountable, you want to hold Joe Biden and Kamala Harris accountable, the best way to do that right now is to send the message now. Because if and when Trump is elected and we slide towards fascism, we will have no choice but to begin to work together. And message will be received. Now, even if Kamala Harris is elected, at least the message has been sent. We try to hold them accountable. Go ahead, Reverend. You wanted to interject.
Hey, but fascism, but I just for the record, fascism is here.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough. Yeah, no pushback on that one. No pushback on that one.
They own the place under Democrats and Republicans.
I just want to say,
as we continue our slide, actually, we're already there. Yes.
I don't want to punish her. She's not the sitting president. She is the vice president that serves at the pleasure of the sitting president. So some things she may talk to him. He has the final say. So that doesn't, I'm not saying take it off. I know you need to calm down, Joshua. I understand what you're talking about. However, I'm going to give her the chance that I've given every other derelict male that has been president of the
It's difficult because there's a lot about Kamala Harris that's very inspiring.
Her name is Kamala.
Kamala, I'm sorry. Well, the other thing is I'm not interested in punishing. I'm not interested in punishing anyone. I'm seeing a genocide, and I'm on the phone with my nephews, and they're hearing Israeli warplanes flying, and they're hearing a sonic boom, and they are scared to death. At any moment, a bomb might fall on them. And the bottom line is the Democratic Party is enabling that. I apologize for getting emotional, but
don't apologize.
I don't want to punish anyone.
Wait a minute. I'm glad to see you emotional. This is something that's made me emotional.
I'm emotional
for a lot of decades.
I don't like any of it.
Yeah.
But what I don't like is people are blaming Biden-Harris. How about we deal with Netanyahu, who continues to refuse to negotiate, refuse to stop fighting? Let's talk about that tomorrow.
No,
Well, yeah,
no,
well,
no,
they agree to
we'll do that.
disagree. I think he's
No.
yeah,
Joe
go ahead.
Biden, he's responsible now because he's in this, and he's got to stop. Now he got to stop now, and also Kamala Harris as the vice president has but so much power to stop him because ultimately no one has got more APAC money than Joe Biden.
Mm-hmm.
He's always been that. What do they call him? Senator credit card when he was in. I mean, because that's also the nature of of Delaware corporations and all of that.
All of the
So I get it, but I'm saying that having been said, I really tend to go with where the progressive Democrats are, and I will not give you my vote. I will vote for you, but be very clear. I'll say this as we go. Years ago, because my parents, came from no money at all. And there was, I think, Polk Brothers. Remember, they had a furniture company, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, Reverend, we know you got this wife and you got these 3 little children. I mean, like 4, 3, and 2. And so, we're going to give you some furniture. My father said, that's nice. Thank you. He said, but don't think I won't get up. We're going to give you a bed and get a bedroom. He said, don't think I won't get up out of this bed and protest you. He said, you can do what you want to do, but I'm not selling my soul to you for this. And so keep on pushing, Josh, because you know what? The passion that you have, that's what I've been waiting for since we got mixed up with the Middle East at the end of 78, beginning of 79. This is almost 50 years. Reverend and Mrs. Jackson and our family have been taking hits on this. And I'm not upset about it because you know what? History has absolved them. But let's be very clear. This fight ain't new, but now the time is up.
Agreed.
And we want justice for everybody. Israeli security and Palestinian justice are married to each other. God makes it. We all have a place at the table, but you're gonna be with your enemy. Be clear, because that's God's child too. So we got a lot of going. We got a lot of going together. Okay.
It's good to see you, Santita. It's nice to meet you, Reverend. It's very nice
we will see you. No, we're gonna do this tomorrow because I think
I'm gonna see you for sure in person.
Oh, you got no, you talking with my boo. I love my Josh. And I love my Reverend Wilson. Well, come on, I love you. I'm loving you, but
we are passionate about what we believe.
That's right. No, I love it, and I love it because you're a freedom fighter, and I love that. And keep on doing it, and let us keep hope alive.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
What did Robert say? That's right, Santita and Joshua. There's nothing wrong with doing the right thing. And, and it's always time. What did Dr. King say? It's always time to do the right thing. It's always time. It's always time. Now is the time. And you stay passionate about this because the more passionate you are, we've already moved the needle on the Middle East. Now we need to move the needle on Haiti. We need to move the needle on Venezuela. We need to move on the Congo, on Yemen, on North Korea, on all of this. Colonialism needs to end, period. And injustice everywhere needs to end, period. So let's get busy. Oh, isn't that what Arsenio Hall used to say? I love you all.
All right.
Second hour, we're talking about these teams, and we're going to continue this conversation, and so that I can get Josh Feinstein and Reverend Wilson tomorrow. I'm going to let them go because I don't want them to hate me. So I love you both.
We love you.
I salute the divinity in you, my dear brother from another mother. I love you, Reverend Dr. Wilson. And so let's get right to it, everybody. Second hour, Santita Jackson Show coming up in just a couple of minutes.